Welcome to the Not Superheroes Just Dads podcast. No, we can't fly. No, we can't shoot lasers or pick up giant buildings. But what we can do is help set the foundations for our families, be present for our kids, and combat generational cycles. On this podcast, we dive into everything dad related, from the struggles we deal with as fathers to what our favorite thing to barbecue is. Hello, I am Sean Laurie. And today, guys, before we get into it, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, make sure you tell a friend. And we actually have another proud dad moment, real quick, guys. I would love to share with you guys. On this proud dad moment, I want to celebrate. This is the time when we celebrate fathers and their child's accomplishment. It could be something big or small. It could be something as getting an A+ on a test to what the child's first word is. And on today's dad proud moment, actually, I want to give a shout out to Jeremy Williams and his son Jeremiah. So Jeremy just worked like a 12-hour shift, right? Got home late. Was one of those days, right, where nothing was just going right. And his son Jeremiah surprised him and put actually a letter on the front door. So that'd be the first thing he saw. And on this letter, he put, "Man, thank you, Dad, for everything you do. Thank you for the food that you provide. Thank you for the lights, for keeping the lights on. Thank you for always doing the little things and sacrificing for me. And you are truly a superhero." Right. And Jeremiah, man, Jeremy was just your dad, I should say, was just so excited, so thankful for that. So shout out to you, man, for appreciating it, because as dads, it is easy for us a lot of times to feel like things we're doing isn't being appreciated. So shout out to you guys, man, for sure. Now, with that being said, I want to introduce my guy Jarvis. How you doing, man?
Man, what's up, Sean? Thanks for having me, bro. I'm doing great. It's a
That's
great day. Life is good.
That's good, man. That's good. So I like to do a little icebreaker before I get into it, man. So I wanted to ask you, is there any, it could be holiday, it could be every Sunday, it could be once a month. Is there anything that you and the family have to do? Like there's something like almost like a tradition or something you guys do together?
Man, that we have to do.
Or I shouldn't say have to, but you guys do often. How about that?
Yeah, well, so one of the things that's, I guess, has kind of become a thing of ours is like right towards the tail end of summer, there's a show on CBS. It's called Big Brother.
Hmm.
We will stock down and watch Big Brother as a family on CBS. Just the concept of the show is you got, I think it's like 15 people, 15 to 16 people start out living in a house. $750,000 goes to the last person who's in the house that wins, but they don't have any access to the outside world. So everything that they do is in that house. Cameras in the house, microphones everywhere. I mean, to be able to really see how when you strip
Mm,
people of all of their distractions, like their outside distractions, and they have to work together, build relationships, compete in these competitions. Like you see humanity, you see people
yeah.
get paranoid, you see people really have to bond quick because all you have is each other in this space.
Mm,
So it's real interesting. I went to school. I was a psychology major,
mm.
so a lot of that stuff intrigues me. The way that people go back and forth, and it's just something that we all do. We just started kind of watching it 4 or 5 years ago as a family, and it's just something that we look forward to every summer.
That's dope, man. That's dope.
Yeah.
With that being said, like you said, there's different, or I guess like that show, right? That's a bonding thing. That's a thing you guys do. That's almost in a sense tradition, and I guess in a sense, right? And so today, y'all, we wanted to talk about a little bit just when it comes to generational cycles and how that looks and how that comes back, how we can combat some of those things. And so I want to ask you, bro, if any, right, is there a generational cycle, either positive or negative, that you have identified in your own family? It doesn't even necessarily mean your family now currently. It could be even when you was growing up.
Yeah, I like how you said generational cycle, because I think that what we've always, or at least for me, what I've always experienced is people talk about generational curses,
Mm,
and they talk about it from a standpoint where it's never seen in a positive light.
yeah.
it's always referred to as the bad stuff that gets passed down from people. And it's like, I gotta break this cycle, I gotta break this cycle. But there are things that get passed down that actually uplift and encourage and push you forward,
Yeah.
especially in tough times. Um, in talking about doing the show, I was talking with my wife, and we just kind of asked the kids, like, they were asking us, well, what is it and what does it mean? And she asked me, well, do you have any cycles in your family? And I was like, one of the things that I remember, and you don't really think about it as being negative,
Yeah.
but it did happen, is uh, we kept a lot of things to ourselves. So there
Mm,
wasn't a real communication of your emotions.
yeah.
Um,
That's good.
and I think for me, there was like, I grew up in a house with my mom and dad. I was blessed to have that. But like from her, I learned when something's really bad or really troubling, you process on your own.
Mm,
And with my dad, it was when things are like you bury, you bury, you bury, and then boom, it just kind of explodes.
yeah.
And you see these dynamics not just in your immediate family, but with my aunts and my uncles, my grandparents, like different things that trigger people, how some of the way we communicate just goes left. And it's like, where did that come from? And oh my God, I didn't even know you felt that way.
Yeah.
And on my dad's side, it was like 0 to 100,
Yeah.
one way or the other. Like even things that you were celebrating, it was like full blown. We're gonna celebrate like there is no tomorrow. But you also gonna get this work when I'm
Mm,
agitated and I've hit a wall. Like it's all
yeah.
coming out. But on my mom's side, it was like secrecy,
Mm,
and you just kind of kept things and you didn't share, and there was a lack of vulnerability, almost to the place where you didn't know at times if what you were hearing or dealing with was really real. So I
mm,
think that those were, I know some people deal with alcoholism and other types of substance abuse, and I didn't have that, but
yeah.
I think sometimes what I dealt with, it was worse, and I can
Yeah.
see where it played out in my marriage and how I deal with my kids. So, and I'm sure we'll get into it, but just trying to break some of those habits and
Yeah.
then fill them with habits that are healthy and whole, so that my kids can be in a better place than I was.
Yeah, no, and that's good, bro. Just because, like you said, a lot of times we think because it doesn't even have to be something so extreme, right? A lot of times
Yeah,
we think of, like you said, it's something super negative or something just like you said, oh, alcohol, oh, was being abusive. It doesn't even necessarily have to be that, but that, like, I agree with you when you said some of those things can actually be just as harmful, right? If not
yeah,
more, depending on the circumstance. So I want to ask you, man, can you just share a little bit? Like you said, you was blessed to be, have both parents, which is a blessing. Can you share a bit about like your relationship with your father and how it has actually influenced you then when it comes to your approach in fatherhood?
yeah. My dad, see, probably 4 years now passed of
Mm,
cancer. One of the things that I'll never forget about my dad is he was always there.
mm,
My
yeah.
dad worked. He worked nights at times, but was there in the morning before I went to school. There were times where, like, he worked during the day. I see him when I left, wouldn't see him when I came home. Um, but I think he tried to structure his life to where he could take care of my mom, but then also make sure that I had him in my life.
Mm,
Um,
yeah.
for years, he coached my little league baseball teams. Like he was taking us to church. I mean, he literally was always there, and it's sometimes hard to relate. Like I really have to force myself to empathize with other men that I meet who they didn't have their dad, because I really don't know what that's like.
Yeah.
Or even people that I have close relationships, like they knew their dad was in the house with them, but there was never a connection. Um, I had that. Like
Yeah.
I had my dad and I bonded. Like I guess most father and sons, when they have some type of relationship, usually will bond over sports. Like that was one of our places of real communication and dialogue, was just about enjoying football, baseball, basketball, random things, being able to talk about the word. He was there, man, and it's something that I try to be for my kids. Like, I want to be present. My wife reminds me all the time, and it's tough now, especially when you got all this technology. Sometimes you can get lost in plain sight, and
Yeah.
you really want to connect, but you're in your phone and you're answering email, or trying to decompress, and
Yeah.
you're in the house with them, but everybody in their own spot. But I do believe that that's one thing that I cherish about my dad, and I hope my kids cherish about me. I was in their life. I was there. I was present.
That's dope. And that because right, you had a great perspective in a sense, right? To know what a father looks like, what a dad looks like, and you was able to carry that, man. So again, in that sense, right, that is again, we always think it's the negative. That's also a positive cycle, right? That you saw. Like
Yeah, for sure.
you don't know what the negative side is, like regardless of his flaws, man, my dad was present. He was always trying to be there, which is a beautiful thing. So um like you said though, right, with those certain patterns that you saw, man, like have you consciously decided, or maybe you already did, but have you consciously decided to break those, or have you already broke some of those patterns that you saw, like you said you saw from your dad's side and
Yeah.
from your mom's side? Like, have you consciously already decided to break those, or are you in the process of doing that now?
Yeah, so I think that it's always a process.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that some of these habits existed until I got married.
Mm.
Because a lot of times, like, until you are responsible for somebody else or you're doing things with somebody else, like, you don't realize some of the baggage that you carry because it's normal to you. Like,
Yeah.
this is my stuff. I've been dealing with this. When I want to make a sandwich, I make a sandwich. It's 2 in the morning. I want to go get a treat or a snack or something. I'm gonna go get me a honey bun. Like, I don't have to answer
Yeah.
to nobody. I'm just gonna go do it.
Mm.
But that's not how that works. It's not how that works when you get married. When you start having kids, um, when you start to accept a level of responsibility in your life, when you start having to answer to people, then some of those parts of your character start to rear its head. And when your parts in your character doesn't mesh with somebody else's background and their character, when we get at odds, that's when you can start to see some of that trauma, some of those negative habits. Sometimes even it empowers you to say, oh man, like I got these skills from my father who got it from his father who got it from his father, and those things are positive. But again, most of the time, man, we don't know about that ugly stuff until we start rubbing shoulders with other
Mm.
people.
Yeah.
So I attribute a lot of growth and progress that I was able to make, one, to my wife, because she was like, yo, that's not going to, I'm not rocking with that. I don't know what that is, but that's not going to work for me.
Mm.
And what it does is it immediately recalibrates you.
Yeah.
Now, for me, because I wanted to be married, like I always knew I wanted to be married. I'm 16 years old talking about, man, I want to be married and have kids. Like that was a real goal for me.
Yeah.
So I tell her all the time, like, your words have way more weight to them than most other people. So when she says something, I take it serious. And we have learned how to speak a language to where she can say something that's really hard to hear. And I know that it's designed for my good. But
Mm.
who it could. And I've had to work on, that defensiveness that you feel, that defensiveness is your arrogance showing. Like, how you gonna tell me about me? And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, but she telling me about me because she is the me outside of me, helping me to see who I am when I don't want to look. And there's a lot of that energy and that time. We've been married almost 20 years,
Yeah.
and she really has exposed some things, and it's
Mm.
given me an opportunity to figure out, okay, now that they've been exposed, what I do with them.
Mm.
Um,
Mm.
I'm not actively in therapy right now, but I've been in therapy. I have surrounded myself with a few close people who I know that they're safe, that I can talk to about things that are going on and not have to worry about rejection or, oh man, I can't, you know, they can hold the tension of some of the
Yeah.
things that I deal with. Um, being in a church community that loves me and doesn't want anything else from me but to be the man that God created me to be, like, that's so critical and helpful
Yeah.
because it takes away this kind of need to perform and please people. So those things have helped me really to be able to process some of the things that I knew were issues,
Hmm.
but then really helped me to understand how much some of those dark things I didn't really know were there when they came up. I didn't have to handle it by myself.
I like that. I want to ask you too, because right there, I just want to be in that moment right now because you even said like, a lot of times you don't know these certain things that good or bad, but these things that we take on from maybe our childhood, what we experienced growing up, until we are married, until we have that partner that holds us accountable. So how do you, um, either from your experience or just even from, like you said, you've been married for a long time, from what you've seen, how do you make sure too, because that in itself, right, certain things come to light, and that in itself, if not addressed, can become something that we take on with our kids, right? And then all of a
Oh
sudden,
yeah, for sure.
like, I never want to be married because that's what I saw, right? And matter of fact, they didn't realize it, but grandma and grandpa had the same thing, and my great grandma had the same thing, right? So how do you be conscious of that to address those things, right, where it can carry over? Because again, like you said, this is my norm. This is
Yeah.
normal for me. Like, oh, what do you mean? Like me, I don't know. I'm just going extreme here, I guess. But me cussing you out because you didn't do what I wanted you to do doesn't mean I hate you. That's just love. That's why I normally do. But then your daughter or your son is seeing that as like, oh, this is how I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to just cuss them out. It's out of love, but I cuss them out because they didn't, wash my laundry for me or something, whatever it is. So
Yeah.
how do you do that, bro? How do you go about that?
Yeah, I think over the years, one of the things that I know my wife and I have really tried to do is we live our life in front of our kids.
Mm,
So like it's not like you ever plan to have a disagreement or
yeah,
you ever plan to say something foul and the person react horribly. But these things happen. This is life.
yeah,
And one of the things that I have been encouraged by, and I don't know that I've always been encouraged in the moment. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes I'm like I'm heated. Like well, this ain't no lesson. Like I'm just reacting in my. I'm in my flesh. I'm upset. I'm mad, and I just got to get some stuff off. But the reality is that our kids have seen tension rise up, but then they've also seen us in our maturity be able to talk each other down.
mm,
So like I heard I think it was a pastor or somebody say one time like it's not the issue that you fight, but do you fight well?
mm,
Can people see how you respond with your emotions in real time, be confronted in accountability, but also be able to say, yo, you know what? Yeah, I'm wrong. So like my kids have seen me own up to a failure, take accountability for something that I was supposed to do, be able to hear and receive to some degree instruction from my wife. Like, yo, your voice level is a little bit too loud. You need to bring it down. And then see me respond to bring it down
mm,
out of respect for her, but also to continue to nurture what it looks like to fight well.
yeah,
We're gonna have disagreements, but we got to be able to make sure that those agreements are still held within this healthy environment. So like we don't go to the room and close the door and be yelling. Like, nah, our kids have to see us in real life. My sons have to see how I treat the woman I say I love, especially when I'm wrong and she's right. And when I feel like I don't wanna submit and be like, nah, she right, but I'm still gonna do me. They gotta see me submit to that and be like, nah, dad was wrong, dad's owning it, and dad's owning it in front of her. And
mm,
his behavior is changing right now in the moment.
yeah,
We're not going back and forth and acting like we don't still love each other and excuse poor behavior. Me cussing you out is not what you should be hearing coming out of my mouth. if I'm cussing you out, my kids should be able to say, "Yo, what language are you using, bro? That's not what you do."
Yeah, yeah.
Because they've seen it role model in a healthy way, they should be able to call it out. And if I'm the man that I say I am, I should be able to hear the correction and not say, "You just a kid." No, right is right, is wrong. And we've empowered them to be able to communicate that for themselves, but also to us when we're in the wrong. So I
Mm,
think some of the way that you role model healthy communication and healthy habits in front of your kids is what's going to help them when they come to that crossroads. Like, yeah, when my friend and I get into it, I could just go silent and walk away and say, "I'm not fooling with you no more." Or they can work through their issues with their friends and figure out, why are we even mad in the first place? And can we
yeah.
come to a common ground? They've seen it at home.
Mm, I like that. No, that is something that I've been doing better with working on because, me and the missus, we might get into it. We rarely have disagreements like that anyways. I mean, we do, but it's something small. But we always will more so go at it maybe in a text message or something like that, right? Because we didn't
Yeah.
want the kids. But I realized, because we have gotten into it and it affected my daughter, but it was more so because she never seen it. She didn't know that,
Yeah.
hey, it's okay that they have disagreements, right? And then I realized doing my own self discovery, talking to people, therapy, all that stuff is like, I also will always try to avoid conflict,
Yeah.
right? And because growing up, that's how it was for me, where it's one of those things, hey, I'm just going to kind of keep it to myself. Like what you said, right? One of those things like, hey, I'm going to keep it to myself. I'm not going to express myself, which
Yeah.
was doing more harm than good because then it's going to come out. It's just going to come out in a different way for me. It's not going to necessarily come out with me, yelling or cussing, but I might act a certain way or I might do certain things, because I'm not voicing how I truly feel. So, I like that, bro. I like that. What?
Yeah, you hear happy wife, happy life, that sort of thing, and
Yeah,
like again talking about some of the habits that we picked up from my dad or my parents.
yeah.
Like my dad really kind of had that mantra. Like I'm really trying to do everything that I can to make sure that my wife, my child, that they're comfortable, they're happy with the situation, and sometimes to the degree that he sacrificed his own voice.
Mm,
Now, again, I'm a kid. I don't know this language. I'm
yeah,
not. I have no concept of what this means. But being able to reflect and work through some of my own baggage, I can say, man, I picked this up from him. He
yeah,
wasn't trying to teach it.
yeah,
He
yeah.
wasn't trying to teach me to silence my voice and just, hey man, just suck it up, deal, move on. It's all good. Even if you right, you wrong. He wasn't trying to communicate that, but that's what I was interpreting through his actions.
Mm,
So then I'm growing up and I'm like, okay, I'm getting into it with my wife. I love her. I don't want my kids to see me react in a way that they can. So I'm just going to sacrifice my feelings, my emotions, right or wrong. I'm just going to cut them off and just be like, okay, whatever, we're going to move on.
yeah.
That only works. That only works for a little bit.
Mm,
And then what it unfortunately what it can teach is, hey man, your feelings don't matter. And ultimately that leads to, not only do your feelings don't matter, you don't matter, you don't have value,
mm,
you can't go to work or you can't be in environments with other people and have an idea, because people are not going to want to hear your idea because your idea is going to be terrible. Like, you just don't realize how it can play into your psyche. And it's like, where did this come from? And
yeah.
really having to unpack that and try to figure out where the root of that is. But yeah, it's a thing where, and COVID helped me being able to understand, one, I don't have to hide, and then two, I can't hide no more.
Yeah.
So even when I feel strongly about something, knowing that I may be wrong, but knowing that it's important for me to put it out there
Mm,
so that I'm not dealing with it and trying to process it in my own mind by myself, it's made all the difference. And sometimes I am wrong. Like, yo, oh, okay, that's how you feel. That's great, but that's not right.
yeah.
You heard that wrong. That's not the situation. Here's some other facts that you didn't consider. I hear you. I want to validate where you're at, but you're wrong.
Mm,
And me having to say, you know what, man, yeah, I am wrong, but I feel better
yeah.
because I was able to say where I was at and then be gently corrected.
Mm.
And
I like.
that's made a difference for me.
No, I like that too. And then honestly, I'm thinking about like what you just said too a little while back, where there is a lot of us fathers, man, that we're more so just hey, we're just gonna kind of keep everything in, right? At the end of the day, hey, okay, as long as you good, right? And like you said, we're now we don't feel maybe we don't have a voice, and then we don't feel as valued. I think a lot of that, not just us, but a lot of other fathers have dealt with that, maybe even still struggle with that, right? Because, too, I know for me, bro, I'll be honest, where it's like, man, I'm not even trying to hear what she's talking about. I'm not trying to hear her complain. I'm not trying to hear none of that. So, you know what? I'm just going to just put my feelings to the side and just kind of deal with it, right? Instead of really voicing, hey, no, this is I hear what you're saying, but you also get to have a voice in this too, right? So, and we don't realize the impact that has. Like you said, your dad was showing you without trying to show you, but there's so many of us that have been shown that and didn't realize it, right? And so then we're like miserable, or at times we can get taken advantage of too, right? Especially
Yeah, for sure.
with the right type of woman, right? She could take advantage of that because she's like, oh, he's never going to say anything, so it's fine. I'm gonna be able to do this and do that. So yeah, bro, that's key right there for sure. I wanted to ask you too, man. Like for for us fathers, right? Do you think, or how important do you think it is? I guess because I know you mentioned the church and stuff like that, having that community or mentorship, man, to help us with those negative generational cycles, and maybe even helping us trying to create positive cycles as well. Like,
Yeah.
how important do you think that is for us to have that?
I think it's incredibly important. Now, I understand, like, for me as a Christian, and not one of them card carrying Christians, but somebody who's really trying to follow after Christ.
Yeah.
The Bible teaches to not only do we need to love God vertically, but we need to love one another horizontally.
Mm,
We it not I'm not a theologian, right? But like if we go back and look, when God created Adam, Adam didn't ask for a spouse. Adam didn't ask for somebody to come along this ride with him. Adam
yeah.
was just chilling.
Yeah.
Adam was cool being in the presence of God. Adam was cool with his assignment. Adam was cool just being exactly who he was in
Yeah.
this place with all of this access. It was God who said, "Yo, it's not good for this man to be alone." It was God who put him to sleep. It was
Yeah.
God who removed the rib. It was God who fashioned this woman and presented her to him. It
Yeah.
was God who said these two must become one. So, like for me, whether and this is not a everybody needs to be married, but
Yeah.
this is everybody needs to have somebody else that's tangible that they can see
Mm,
because we weren't meant to handle the circumstances of life by ourselves. So, like for me, as a believer, community is super vital to how I walk out what I understand about God.
mm.
God God's not showing up like my Amazon driver with a package when I need something.
Yeah.
And God is impressing upon the hearts of his children for us to meet each other's needs.
Mm,
I can't get my need met if I don't communicate it to him. And if I'm not willing when somebody comes into my environment to share, hey man, I'm really been struggling with this and I don't know what to do about it. Hey, you know what? Hey, God, like I really need some direction, and I wish I had somebody who could just kind of just help, just hear me and help me process this, and then show up to work. And somebody who you pass by every day has a random conversation with you, and it ends up being exactly what you need.
mm.
These are for me. It's not an accident, but being able to be vulnerable with people, and again, not everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody shouldn't have the level of access. Another quick thing: Jesus had 12 disciples. He walked with them. He talked with them. There were times where when Jesus needed to do something super critical, all 12 of them didn't come. He called out three specifically. It was like, hey, man, y'all come with me. We finna go here. And then there were times where it was like, yo, I got to leave all of y'all and I got to get some alone time to talk to the Father.
That's true.
Those are for me, those are guidelines for life. It's like I need community, but I also need a close knit group of people, and then I still need individual time with God. It all has to work together. So without that, you can get lost. And I'm a super introvert. I If it was up to me, I hang out. I'll be at the house. Like I'm learning how to, get in different environments and not be the person just kind of standing up against the wall, not saying nothing. But like that's my default setting.
Mm.
So when I'm doing the introvert thing and I got a whole bunch of weight on my shoulders, I can end up in a space where I'm trying to manage all of this tension, all of this pressure by myself, and nobody would know. And now I'm just going through the motions with everybody else, and I got the weight of the world on my back.
Yeah.
And God continues to send people in my environment to say, "Hey, man, how you doing?" And that's my opportunity to share, and I don't.
Mm.
But I'm still going to God, yo, man, I can't do this by myself. He's like, yo, I keep sending people who I know that you trust, and
Yeah.
all you have to do is communicate. So
Mm.
it's those types of relationships that I think matter. It's not just me and God, it's me and other people. And it can't just be me and other people without God.
Mm.
I don't care how many friends you got. Everybody who is your friend ain't really for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And without being able to discern, okay, who's really for me and who can really hold this tension and who's, yeah, we cool, but I don't know if we really friends because I don't know how much I can share of my life because I really don't know what you're gonna give. It all matters.
Mm. Mm. No, that's good. That's good. And you got, like you said, to be able to, because that's another thing I know. For us as guys, right? It's hard for us to get our trust a lot of times too, right? So what
Yeah,
you're saying is true, man. Can't let everyone have access to you, and gotta be conscious of those things. Um, I know for me, I can speak on it too. I think a lot of things I saw, a lot of things I experienced. Is a reason why it was so hard for me to be able to trust and to always have my guard up, right? And that's something I'm conscious of because yes, I need to be aware. Yes, I need to be smart and pick certain people who I let have access. But at the same time, I don't need to carry that weight with me. And then have, especially my boys, especially my oldest son, he's constantly watching a lot what I'm doing, like imitating. So I'm constantly trying to make sure that I'm not showing him, uh, hey man, at the end of the day, I gotta be stone cold with everything, right? Like I
yeah,
can't let no one have access to me. I just have to always have this this wall up, basically, right? So yeah, bro, I definitely agree with you on that as well.
yeah,
I wanted to ask you too, man, like before get ready um, to close out, I want to ask you one: what is some of the positive things you feel like you have uh now passed? Like if there is a pattern or a cycle or something to your kids, what is maybe one or two things you think that you have passed to your kids? And then the last thing is what do you hope your legacy? Because like you said, when your dad passed, um obviously I know that was a probably a very tough day for you, but you have all these great memories. You say he was an amazing father. So what legacy do you hope to leave behind as a father for your kids?
yeah. I think one of the things that I'm very intentional about in communicating with my kids is the ability to think critically.
Mm,
Um,
that's dope.
when somebody asks you a question, like you don't always have to give the first thing that comes to your mind. Sometimes you just need to, even if you have the answer immediately, sometimes you just need to think about, okay, here's the answer, but is this person ready to hear it?
Mm,
Is this the time to share it? Like, what's going on around me? Is this person really a friend? Let me examine the fruit of their actions. Should I be trusting immediately, or does trust come with time?
Mm,
Like how do I navigate when I'm in a classroom with my peers and the teacher is teaching something and nobody knows what she's talking about or what he's talking about? How do I role model how to be brave and raise my hand and say, I don't know what's going on. Can you stop it and re-explain it?
yeah,
Think about what you're doing. Think about what somebody's asking you. Be aware of your surroundings. Don't just use words just because it sounds good or it feels like the right thing. Like be intentional about your yes, be intentional about your no, and always make sure that people know where you stand. Be open to criticism, constructive feedback, and also be gracious in allowing people to, show their humanity.
yeah,
Nobody's perfect. You know what I'm saying? So it's it's something that it's something I work real hard to do because like I feel like our generation of kids are at a disadvantage. Like they got everything and everything's at their fingertips, and it's easy for them to just withdraw. I mean, we use curbside to go for grocery shopping, right?
yeah,
Because with our schedule, it's just more convenient.
yes,
But I remember what it was like to go in the store
yeah,
and you know what I'm saying? Like I have that memory. My kids don't have that understanding
mm,
necessarily. Because
yeah,
they didn't grow up where you had to go to the store when it's thunderstorming and you ain't have no milk and everybody in the house home. Like you had to physically go. I know what it's like to go hunting for things for school, back to
mm,
school stuff, and I couldn't just go to Amazon. Like these things are super important. You had to go to the library and actually use the card catalog to figure out where's this library book. Like
yeah,
technology has enhanced us, but it's also crippled our children. So yeah, like I want you to be able to utilize all the advancements because I think that all the good that comes from them, it comes from God. But I also need you to not freak out and collapse when the world stops and it's like, oh, I don't have my phone because it's not charged. Can you still go get what you need? Can you still
mm,
figure out how to handle these situations? So that's one thing that I definitely try to pass on. Let's think critically. Let's
yeah,
make sure that we are always aware of our surroundings.
that's right.
Um, in terms of legacy, bro, like my biggest thing is for us to live as Christ and to die as gain.
Mm,
And like right now, I understand and get like this Christian thing. This is my mom and dad's religion.
yeah,
This is their spirituality, and I get that. But being able to empower them to say, "Hey, this is what we believe, and this is why, and this is what it looks like, and this is what it doesn't look like." And here are my struggles, and this is what the word of God says about my struggles. And here are all the things that God wants to do in my life, and here's the role that I also have to play in that. So
mm,
that when they get to the age where they have to make a decision on their own, they can own their decision.
yeah,
Yeah, I have a way that I want you to go, and I pray for you all the time. But at some point, you're gonna come to a crossroads where you're gonna have to decide for yourself, and it's gotta mean something to you.
mm,
Yeah, I do feel like that Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life, and that nobody gets to the Father except through Him. Yeah, that's what I believe to the core. But if you can't, but if you don't believe that, you're gonna have to figure that out because it may not be advantageous for you in the moment to say, "Yes, I'm a Christian," because somebody might try to take you out because of that. But do
yeah,
you stand on it? Is
mm,
that what you believe, or are you gonna say, "Well, I'm not sure because my mom then had us going to church and my dad was trying to talk to us about the word, but I mean, I don't know if I'm really rocking with that whole." Figure it out because at some point you got to go and you got to be a man and a woman on your own. So I
mm,
think from a legacy standpoint, I really do want my kids to be able to embrace everything that they have. No, I don't necessarily want you to work. Your job is school, but if you get a job, I want you to understand why am I getting it. I don't want you to just be somebody who's always coming to us and looking for us to give you the answer. No, I need you to take some time and think about what that means for you and try to figure it out on your own.
mm,
Do some trial and error. Understand that you're a human being, and sometimes you learn more from when things don't go right than when they do. That's okay. Life happens to everybody.
yeah,
It's how you respond that makes the difference. So those are the kind of principles that I'm trying to leave with my kids, because when I'm gone, bro.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And when I get to an age and it's me and my wife and we done did all this stuff and y'all grown, y'all figure out how y'all gonna pay for us to go on this week vacation. Cause yeah, I got my own bread, but I'm trying to recoup some of this money and this time that I put in. Yes, hey, figure it out. It's for y'all. This how much it costs. Make it happen. We leave on this date. I need it paid for. You know
I
what I'm saying? That kind of stuff.
That's dope. Nah, that's real, man. I definitely appreciate you, man. Appreciate your time, bro. And man, just hearing you, man, and even seeing seeing you interact some and things like that, man. I know you're doing an amazing job leading your family, man, and just keep being an example, bro, for your family, which is dope to see. I mean, being a man of God, being a strong father, strong husband, and being able to understand you're not perfect and worked on your flaws, man. So I definitely salute you, bro, and I'm thankful for you even making the time to hop on, bro. So I thank you for that, man.
Yeah, man. I want to applaud you, dude. Like having a podcast and being consistent with the content and being able to highlight dads in a way that makes dads real and tangible. Like especially as black men, and being able to come and have a space where yeah, we can talk about frustrations, we can talk about disappointments, but we can also big each other up.
Yeah.
And listening to like the story, the moment you had to open the show, man, I can only imagine what that feels like to see the fruit of your time and your investment be reflected back to you
Mm,
in the words of your own child. Like that's huge. We're
yeah.
not getting that on Kens 5 and KSAT. You know what I'm saying? So
Facts.
salute to you, and even being able to have a platform where men can come together and share their perspective. Even if women are watching, that they understand like there's layers to men and there's layers to relationships, and we all in it together. Like that's a beautiful thing.
Appreciate it, man. I definitely receive that, and I'm humbled, and I definitely thank you for that, man. And so, like always, y'all, make sure you like, make sure you share, subscribe, tell a friend, and like always, remember you don't have to be perfect, but you always have to be present. See you guys on the next one.